Hey guys, my name is Cheeto and I am at the Culinary Studio at Jefferson Marketplace with my guest, Chef Becky from Pork and Pickles. You can find her at various locations like the Farmer's Market where they sell specialty butcher meats and specialty sausages that you can't find anywhere else in Athens. You can also find her at the kitchen at Devil's Kettle. And today we're going to show a special recipe that she does for her simple pickle or it's used for a 24-hour pickle, I'm assuming, but you can use it for different
yeah, so depending on how thick your vegetable is, if it's a hearty root vegetable like a carrot, you're going to want to probably let it go for 3 days before you eat it. But if it's a cucumber, it can be ready that evening.
All right. So what do we have here today?
So we, like you said, Cheeto, thanks for having me. We are, we're going to pickle carrots. It's one of my favorite things to pickle. It's a little bit unique. Most people think pickle and they just go right to cucumber. So what we do at Pork and Pickles, we call it eclectic pickled vegetables, and it's a whole range of different vegetables and different brines. So we have our carrots, we have thyme, fresh herbs always, dried spices great, but fresh herbs always instead of dried. Flavor is just so much better. So fresh thyme, dried coriander, black peppercorn. This is a Aleppo pepper. It's a Middle Eastern pepper that has a little spice, but also a lot of like richness and sweetness. Cool. And then some bay leaves. And so that's kind of what we're seasoning with, and you can change that. Once you figure out how to balance the base of your brine, then you can kind of go anywhere with it. Yeah. So to balance, you're gonna use a vinegar. Today we use apple cider vinegar, water, and a sweetening agent. So we're using sugar, but then I also like to use a little bit of brown sugar just to add some more depth to it. And then kosher salt. So that is kind of the sugar, the vinegar, the salt, and the water are what you need to create any basic pickle brine.
Great. All right, so let's get started. What are we gonna be doing first?
So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I always prep my vegetables first. When we do it at Pork and Pickles, we'll do like 200 pounds at once.
Oh,
so
yeah,
we spend the first half of the day prepping the vegetables.
Wow.
So I'm gonna start by just taking a little compost.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we're just gonna peel these. So the next thing we're gonna do, now that we have our carrots all peeled, is we're just gonna chop them. I like to do a roll chop on these, but you can do anything. I mean, that's the nice thing about pickling is like once you figure out how to balance your brine,
that's right.
And you've got a vegetable chosen. I mean, you could do carrot sticks just like that. Yeah. You could do something smaller. You can do slices. Yeah. Anything you want really. So that options. So I brought a couple jars today. This is the 2 sizes that we sell pickles in, the 8-ounce and the 16-ounce. But if you're doing it at home and you have a bunch, you can do a whole crock. You can do quart jars, whatever. So I'm going to start each jar with a little bit of thyme, and I'm just going to put the whole sprig down in it. So I'm just going to go in with the bigger ones, the bigger things, a couple of these, a couple bay leaves in each one. And now I feel like I can pack my jars. So just gonna fill them with this. And you don't wanna go like overflowing because you want them to be under, so I usually go with that line of the rim. Sure. So the next thing we're gonna do, so we just kind of set these aside, right? And we have our other things. Now we're gonna make our brine. Right. So I have apple cider vinegar here. And where I start with, and there's a recipe that will be included in this video for you guys, but you don't have to follow it exactly like recipes. Now, all the bakers and pastry chefs in the world would be really angry with me, but they're meant to be just kind of modified. That's right. So what I typically do is start with equal parts vinegar and water. I'm gonna go 2 cups of vinegar. This would be too much brine, and then 2 cups of water. Actually, I'm gonna go just a little bit shy on that. But that's the nice thing is like we'll taste it, and if it needs more acid, we'll add more vinegar. So, you want to go ahead and turn that on? Yeah, just kind of a medium-high. So we go medium-high, but you have your whisk ready, and you want to be working it. You don't want to end up boiling your vinegar because it can actually add some kind of bitter tones to it. Yeah, so you want to bring a vinegar to a simmer, and the point of heating it is to kind of start the process, because you can pour it on cold even, but it's going to It's gonna cook these a tiny bit, just take out the like really harsh bite, and then you also need to dissolve your sugars and your salts. So, granulated sugar. I'm gonna start with, it's somewhere usually, I'll probably start with a cup of it actually. So it's close to like 50% of the equal parts of water and vinegar typically, but like I said, it's the best thing to do, especially with a pickle brine because it's so forgiving, is add it in and taste it. But the important thing to know is how these things balance. So the important thing to know is that sweetness balances acid. So if it's too sweet, what you need to add is more vinegar. And if it's too acidic and you're like, oh, then you need more sugar. So I went with a cup of white sugar. And this is a third cup, so I'm gonna go a little short, but I want like about a quarter cup of salt. Pickles are salty too, like it's okay, you know. And when you're serving things cold, you want more salt, or like more salt in it than if you're just serving it hot. So
typically once things cool down, it'll be as less seasoned, right? Like a soup or,
like I said, I was gonna add just a little bit of brown sugar. We don't need a lot more sweetness in the brine, but I do like the depth that brown sugar with the molasses in it adds. So I'm gonna go a third of a cup here.
Now obviously we're making a lot more than what we're making here.
Yeah, I don't know why we're doing bigger batch.
How long does a typical brine last for, and if I refrigerated it?
Yeah, so you have, I mean, it's all you're putting in is spices and sugar and vinegar and water. It would be good in your fridge for a year.
Cool.
I mean, it might take up too much space.
That's
but
okay.
Yeah, and I don't really know why we're making too much because I'm used to making 300 pounds at a time. So even just to scale it down to a quart seems like the smallest batch of brine I've done in a year. When you're working with whole spices like our coriander and the black pepper, it's really nice to toast them first. So you just want to do a dry pan. Yeah, get that one on, maybe. So we have our herbs that are already in. We have our Aleppo pepper, which any like red chili flake or Aleppo pepper or something, it's really, you don't want to toast it because it just burns like immediately. So we have coriander, which is a much lighter weight one, and that's gonna take hardly any time at all. And then the black peppercorn will take a little bit longer, so we're gonna put that in first.
Do you strictly use black peppercorn, or do you ever mix it up with like red, white, and all this?
I really love white peppercorn, but it can also overbear something completely. I use white peppercorn a lot in the meat, in a lot of our sausage blends. Black peppercorn tends to stand up to the acidity of a pickle better than those kind of like green or pink. So I tend to garnish with pink peppercorn. With like we have at the kitchen on the bratwurst plate right now is a zucchini pancake with béarnaise and pink peppercorn and a bratwurst.
Sounds good.
And that's super nice. So you just kind of move it around a little bit and you can start to smell that, and you can, and when you start to smell the black pepper, you can add the coriander.
Oh, coriander.
We'll just kind of mix that together. So I'm just going to take these out of the hot pan because you want to get them out right away because they'll keep cooking. So you cook them exactly where you want and then take them off. And we'll just, is this okay? And I just set these out to just let them cool a tiny bit and stop the cooking process. So we'll bring our brine back. It looks like it's starting to get, you can see a little bit down in the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see that on TV, but it's not quite dissolved. So we're just gonna whisk it together. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some of this in. Just a few like large, and I mean, you don't have to go out searching for Aleppo pepper, guys. I like it and it's in our kitchen, but red chili flakes, I mean, that's so common. And I'm gonna mix that up, and we have the heat off now because we don't want to cook it more. We just wanted it to dissolve this stuff.
You're almost like activating the flavors of it.
While we give that, a second, we can come over, and it's about maybe 2 teaspoons, I'd say, in the big jar of the toasted, and you can give it a little shake and they'll fall down in. And then it's half the size, so about 1 teaspoon in there. So we're gonna go like 1 tablespoon more of salt. So we had a 1/4 cup in already, and just a little bit more. So one of the things I like to do too that's like really nice to talk about is when you get to the bottom of your jar, and I always tell our customers this too, is don't throw out the brine. You can add a tablespoon of Dijon mustard and pour some olive oil in it and shake it up, and you have just a nice like broken vinaigrette. So this should be a very flavorful base. We'll pour it in here. But you can use a ladle at home if that sounds easier.
Wow, look at that beautiful color on that.
So now, the very final part is I'm just gonna pour it to cover. So if you were doing something like squash or zucchini or cucumber, you want this brine to come all the way down to room temperature first because you don't want it to cook the vegetable. But if you're doing something like a beet or a turnip or parsnip, carrot, a root vegetable that has more substance to it to begin with, you definitely want to pour it on hot. And I, with the carrots, go ahead and, with the carrots cut thick like that, I go ahead and cap them. And now this it's not sealed, it's not shelf stable. They still go in the fridge. So kind of give them a little shake about.
Sweet. Now we got our beautiful product.
So you just let them come to room temperature on the table. This is a little too hot to put in the fridge, but then right in the fridge, and I would say give it 3 days, open them up, and they should be delicious pickled carrots.
Well, sounds good. Thank you for showing us that.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Go home and pickle something. Thanks for watching our video today. If you'd like to find out more about pork and pickles, about our eclectic pickle line, our butcher cuts, our sausages, or our new venture, the kitchen at Devil's Kettle, you can check us out on Instagram and Facebook at Pork and Pickles or at porkandpickles.com.